Okay, so another little tip would be when you're changing between the chords, say like when we're doing the upstrokes, is on that upstroke where you'd normally on the downstroke you'd have that gap to change. So you'd be G and then you come back up, and as your hand's coming up, you'll change to the C chord, making you a nice smooth transition between the chord. Now what you can do, because the upstroke is quite difficult to go down, up, and then suddenly to change up. You've suddenly got to change in a much shorter gap. Is open chords rely on a lot of these open, especially in the key of G anyway. If we're playing in the key of G, these open chord notes can be played open between the changes. And I call it the Buskers technique or Buskers trick, and it's where they're playing a lot of fast strumming and they've got a really kind of consistent strumming pattern that fills out all the bar with a lot of rhythm, and then as they're changing, they change quite quick between the changes, but you hear a lot of open strings in there, and it sounds nice, it sounds very musical. And so the idea would be, if you're practicing, to not worry about hitting those open strings, not worry about playing up and then trying to get it quickly to the C, because actually what you'll be looking at doing is just, there's the G chord, keep that rhythm going, take your fingers off the chord, put your fingers in the C chord, take fingers off, put it in the G. Now notice I was really slow, purposely I made it like really slow, but because my rhythm was very consistent and the chords worked really well with these open notes, it just sounded way more musical than stopping. You really want to not do this. And obviously you do that at the very beginning when you learn your first 2 or 3 chords, because you're trying to remember the shape. But if the shapes are in your head and you know where the G and the C and the D is, and you can feel the shape without really paying too much attention to it, then the next trick will be to change between them. And to get them fluent, you need to consistently kind of move to the shape. And if we're doing that okay, then when we add the strums, it can be kind of a little bit harder to fill in all the gaps and giving ourselves the time for the change. So your arm's just going down, up, keep that going down, up, and then put your finger in to the chord of the C. And I'm choosing G and C just because they work quite well with this, but any chord, if it was an A and an E for example, so yet again, G works really well because those notes, those middle notes are all G, but A and E works quite well as well. Any of the open chords, do that with, because as you get quicker, you won't notice those, but you'll hear it. You can hear those, I've got those gaps in between, but because it sounds rhythmically together and tight, it just sounds musical as opposed to like something I'm doing wrong. Anyway, so that's a little trick that will help you, especially when as you get quicker and you start speeding up those rhythms. Have fun.